Someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your anger feels way bigger than the situation. A friend takes too long to reply, and your mind instantly jumps to rejection. A simple comment from your boss ruins your entire day. And deep down, part of you knows, this reaction isn't really about what just happened. Because most reactions are not born in the moment. They're echoes. Echoes of old wounds, old fears, old memories your conscious mind forgot, but your emotions never did. According to Sigmund Freud, the human mind is like an iceberg. The small part above the water is what you're aware of. But underneath, there is an entire hidden world controlling your feelings, behaviors, attractions, fears, and reactions without you realizing it. And once you begin to notice this, people become easier to understand, including yourself. Think about this. Why do some people get extremely defensive over small criticisms? Why do others constantly seek approval? Why do certain comments stay in your head for days while other people brush them off in seconds? Freud believed reactions are rarely random. They're clues. Imagine a man who becomes furious anytime someone questions his intelligence. On the surface, he looked arrogant, but underneath, there may be an old insecurity buried deep inside him. Maybe he grew up constantly feeling not good enough. So now, every small disagreement feels like an attack on his worth. The reaction looks irrational until you understand the hidden emotion underneath it. And honestly, we all do this. Sometimes people aren't reacting to what's happening now. They're reacting to what happened years ago. That's why two people can experience the exact same situation and react completely differently. One person hears criticism and says, "Okay, I'll improve." Another hears criticism and feels humiliated, angry, or crushed. The event is the same. The hidden meaning behind the reaction is different. Freud also believed the mind hides painful emotions from us to protect us. This is where defense mechanisms come in. You've probably seen them everywhere without noticing. Someone who secretly feels insecure starts acting superior. Someone who feels rejected pretends they don't care about anyone. Someone overwhelmed with guilt becomes overly critical of others. The mind is constantly protecting itself from pain. And sometimes, the strongest reactions come from emotions we refuse to admit. Have you ever noticed how people often hate in others what they secretly dislike in themselves? The person obsessed with calling everyone weak may secretly fear their own weakness. The person constantly accusing others of lying may struggle with honesty themselves. Freud called this projection, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. A lot of what people judge externally is actually internal conflict leaking outward. Even attraction works this way sometimes. Ever wonder why certain people instantly pull you in emotionally even before you logically understand why? Freud believed we are often drawn towards familiar emotional patterns, even unhealthy ones. That's why some people repeatedly end up in toxic relationships that feel strangely comfortable. Not because the relationship is healthy, but because it feels emotionally familiar. The mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar uncertainty. And that idea alone explains so much human behavior. It explains why people stay in situations they know are hurting them, why they repeat the same emotional cycles, why they sabotage healthy things without understanding why. Because hidden parts of the mind are still trying to replay unresolved emotions. But here's where this becomes powerful. Once you become aware of your reactions, your life starts changing. Because instead of just reacting automatically, you begin asking, why did that affect me so deeply? That question alone can reveal more about you than years of pretending everything's plain. Maybe your fear of abandonment explains why silence makes you anxious. Maybe your anger hides disappointment. Maybe your jealousy hides insecurity. Maybe your need to constantly prove yourself comes from never feeling valued growing up. And the moment you recognize the root, the reaction starts losing control over you. This is why self-awareness is uncomfortable, but necessary. Most people spend their whole lives blaming the world for reactions they never took time to understand. But the people who grow, they investigate themselves. They notice patterns. They question emotional triggers. They stop running from uncomfortable truths. Because hidden emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them. They leak out in your relationships, in your habits, in your anger, in your anxiety, in the way you speak to yourself when nobody else is around. And sometimes the scariest thing isn't discovering darkness inside yourself. It's realizing how long it has been controlling you without your awareness. But awareness changes everything. The moment you start observing your reactions instead of blindly becoming them, you create space between you and the emotion. That space is power. Because now anger becomes information. Jealousy becomes a signal. Fear becomes something to explore instead of obey. And suddenly, your emotions stop being enemies. They become messages. Messages from parts of yourself asking to be understood. Freud believed that what is buried in the unconscious mind doesn't stay buried forever. It eventually reveals itself through behavior, dreams, emotional patterns, and reactions. And honestly, modern life makes this even more obvious. People distract themselves constantly, scrolling, working nonstop, avoiding silence, avoiding reflection. Because silence has a strange way of revealing things we've been trying not to feel. But if you can sit with yourself honestly, without judgment, you start uncovering truths most people never face. You begin realizing, not every reaction deserves expression. Not every emotion tells the truth. And not every trigger comes from the present moment. Sometimes your mind is simply replaying an old emotional script. And once you recognize the script, you no longer have to keep performing it. That may be one of the most freeing realizations a person can have. So the next time you feel a reaction that seems bigger than the situation itself, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what is this really about? Not the surface answer, the deeper one. Because your reactions are rarely just reactions. They are windows into your hidden fears, desires, insecurities, memories, and unmet emotional needs. And the better you understand them, the better you understand yourself. If this video spoke to you, leave a comment with the word awareness so we know you made it to the end. And if you want more deep psychological insights inspired by thinkers like Sigmund Freud, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because sometimes the hardest person to understand is the person staring back at you in the mirror.